Here's the Spurs News Roundup via the latest Tottenham news, all in one place in the last 24 hours. Stay tuned to the very end for every single story and a full analysis as well, keeping you up to date. Let's get straight into it then. If you're new, please like and subscribe. So, Tottenham Hotspur under 21s beat West Ham Albions under 21s 1-0 is Byfield with the only goal of the game. So the XG then between Tottenham and Wolves, the game ended 1-1 in the Premier League game week 6 as Wolves got their first point of the Premier League season. Spurs coming back late, but the XG for Tottenham was 0.91 and for Wolves was 1.03. João Palhinha won more duels with 10 and made more tackles with 5 than any other Tottenham Hotspur player against Wolves. Palhinha scored Spurs' late equalising goal in a Premier League match, and it's his first since September 2023 on a personal note. João Palhinha said he would trade his goal for all 3 points against Wolves. Little quote here from Palhinha. He said, "I'm really sad, me, my teammates and the staff, because it's mandatory for us to win these games. It feels like a loss." Thomas Frank praised Spurs' character in particular to come back to earn a point against Wolves. Frank said, "I think we needed a top performance to win, but we put in an average performance. We still ended up with a point on a day where things didn't go right." João Palhinha has firmly insisted that Tottenham's draw against Wolves does feel like a defeat. He went on to say, "I'm not happy at all. We need to win this type of match." Next, though, moving on, Thomas Frank spoke about whether it's points dropped, and kind of an opportunity missed. And Frank said, "Yeah, I think if you look before the game, you would say there was a good chance for us to win, but I think it's also, that's why I've also said it before the game. We haven't beaten Wolves in the last 5 times, now 6 times in a row, and also a team that has lost the first 5. There's a time where they will get something." And also I said before the game, they had played very, very even games, so it was never easy. That said, I hoped and believed we'd hit a top performance. I think we hit an average performance, but you do sometimes. So yeah, point on the day, not everything worked out, and then we move forward. The Spurs under 18s beat Birmingham under 18s 4-0 on Saturday. Goals from Boast, Wellspring, Moncourt and Orfair. So interim under 18s coach Joe Staunton said it was a much improved second half. We managed to have a lot of the ball without creating any clear-cut opportunities. Most of our opportunities came from crosses, but the boys applied some of the things we spoke about at half-time. Were able to score 4 good goals in the second half. Reminder that the Spurs under 18s 4-0 win over the Birmingham City under 18s. Thomas Frank spoke about more Tottenham's 1-1 draw against Wolves. Frank said, "First of all, I would love to win. The expectations beforehand, and we're playing against the Wolves team, which I clearly said before the game, they haven't been able to beat the last 5 times, now 6. That's disappointing. It shows the Premier League is relentless, so difficult. You don't know what you're going to get. I'm happy with the first half. I felt it was a game that was a good performance. We were on top in that game, controlled it, gave nothing away, created 2 or 3 chances, disallowed goal, maybe a penalty too. We also got in dangerous situations, creating 2 or 3 more chances and getting that goal. The second half, the start was okay, but after their goal, I felt we lost structure and coolness to get more on top of the game, the effort and mentality. I need to praise the players for that. I think it's very important. It was also important that the fans kept pushing us forward. In the end, we get a deserved point. Yes, we'd love to win, but if we can't win, don't lose and keep that little bit of momentum." Christian Romero posted on social media after the game saying, "Today wasn't our match. We wanted more, but we just didn't go our way. Now it's all about keeping our heads up, working harder and pushing forward together. Huge thanks to the fans for all your love today. Time to recharge, and on Tuesday we go again. As always, together always." Non-executive chairman Peter Charrington sent a message to Spurs fans in the Matchday programme for the Wolves game. Peter Charrington said the following: "Dear supporter, I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce myself to you following my recent appointment as non-executive chairman of this great football club. Many of you have questions as to what my role entails and what it means in terms of how we run the club moving forward. Firstly, it's important to point out I'm not entirely new to Spurs. I joined as a non-executive director back in March and have therefore gained an understanding as to what this club is all about. Our Europa League victory in Bilbao demonstrated the impact of winning trophies and what it does to our fans both here and around the world. It's something the board and I want you all to experience on many more occasions. I've had the pleasure of knowing the Lewis family for many years. I can speak to how passionate Viv, Charlie and all the family are about seeing this club truly reach its full potential. I see my role as non-executive chairman to be about empowering the team at leadership level and throughout the organisation to deliver our stated objective of long-term sporting success. Over the last 6 months, I've had the privilege of meeting the many talented people within our club, driving us forward every single day, both on and off the pitch. This includes our head coaches, Thomas and Martin, who have shared with me their drive and developed to win for both women's and men's teams. My focus on providing them with all the necessary tools to create a winning culture with the aim this will translate to success on the pitch. In Vinay, we have a CEO who's a fantastic leader and a figurehead of our club, and I'll support him in delivering on our vision, developing talent within the organisation and ensuring supporters are at the heart of our decision making. In terms of you, our fans, I'm extremely proud of the inclusivity of our Spurs fans and how we as a club engage with our various supporters groups that we make up as a rich, diverse global fan base. I'm keen we listen to our fans and understand different perspectives from all sections of the support. I look forward to meeting with our fan advisory board for the first time in the coming months to learn more about what matters most to you. I've attended various games and experienced a special atmosphere of our fans create in the stadium firsthand, working with independent groups such as THFC Flags, who designed the incredible tifo display we scored at last Tuesday's Champions League game with Villarreal. I look forward to sharing many more special occasions like this with you in the years to come. Peter. There you go, it's his message. Thomas Frank was asked about trying to fix the injury issues that plague Spurs in recent years. Frank said that was one of the big areas we looked into when I came in. I see it as a holistic picture. It's between the coaching, performance and medical departments. It can't be three departments not communicating with each other. It has to be three consistently and constantly communicating back and forth. It's how we train, how well we train, and how we also plan for that. All far, some of them have been good so far. Charles Frank says if Spurs can't win a game, it's imperative not to lose it. He said we get a deserved point. It's a case of just getting a result. Next, Thomas Frank spoke about Xavi Simons not starting in the 10. Frank said, I think he's trying to get the right balance into the team, also for me to learn the players and give them the best players on the pitch at the same time. He came on against Brighton as a 10 and did well. I think he got it today and a 10 didn't really work out, but it just wasn't for him. The whole team was out of sync. I think Wow and Rodri have been great for us so far, and Lucas has been fantastic. Thomas Frank on Richarlison and how does he get him into the game more? Frank said, for example, I think Brighton, he did many good things, but I liked him a little bit more in the box. I felt today he was more in the box and the cross maybe didn't land it for him. And then I think it's also fair to say that especially the first half, we mainly played a team with 11 players behind the ball, which always made it a little bit more difficult. I think actually even Haaland can be eliminated in that situation. So a little bit more space, a little bit more open, then you can create more opportunities. Thomas Frank was asked after the game on that frustration and from fans, or whether it makes it hard for Vicario and others to be calm and patient as he would like. Frank said, I definitely think it's not easy. Now I need to look at the situations back at the top of my head. It looks like we could have also helped him a little bit more on those situations, open up a bit more, give him more options. There was also one or two where he could have done better, but hey, that's part of it. It's not easy, but that's not to say he couldn't have done better. Thomas Frank on Paulinho and Ben scoring midfield against Bournemouth and against Wolves, where Spurs struggled for creativity, and did he get that selection right? Frank said, I'll always look back at it, but a good old coach told me that once the lineup you picked, you did for a reason, and you don't know what will happen if you pick the other one. Maybe you would have lost 2-0. So I need to go with what I believe in. Of course, that is not to say I'm not watching the game back and not reflecting and thinking, how could we, should we know? You never know. I actually think first half we're actually quite good and created enough. We'd like to create a bit more. Yes, after I took Rodri out, you could say it didn't work because we lost a structure, so who knows. One thing is for sure, we definitely needed to be a little bit better in the second half. Frank was asked if he has an issue with João Palhinha celebrating in the corner after taking his shirt off when there was still 2 or 3 minutes to play and it only made it 1-1 at the time. It wasn't a winner. Frank said, I didn't know, I celebrated myself, but of course I noticed after I could see he didn't have his shirt on. I know we wanted to go for the next one, but you could see the next 3 minutes we were a little bit disjointed. Should we go for it? Where were the positions? I think it's fair to say we struggled a little bit with creating that chance, so the 1-1 was probably a good point. Of course, we still lose. It feels like at this point, we didn't win the game, but I think the positive is we kept in the game and got a point. Frank was asked on whether the team suffered from not being able to bring on Dominic Solanke and or Randall Colomwani to freshen up the attack. Frank said, I think there were enough offensive actions, but of course it's to have one natural striker. I think Mateus can play striker, but he's probably a striker and a winger. So a natural striker as Richie and Dom and Colo would have been nice to have that extra option, but I think we could have still won the game anyway. Thomas Frank was asked about Xavi Simons against Wolves and why he struggled to get into his rhythm. Frank said, yeah, I think it's fair to say I think Xavi had some good actions, also carrying the ball forward when you have to foul him 3 or 4 times, but there were a lot of situations where he was not as sharp. I think it's fair to say I think he would say the same for himself, but I also think it's natural. You're coming into a new team, a new league. To find that rhythm quickly is difficult, and I also think that we said the other time, I think very happy against Brighton performance in many ways. I think the first half was positive, also, offensive, but that free flow floating to have it enough, that we need to keep working on. And then there were some days that it just didn't hit at the highest level. Frank was asked on the Wolves game in general, and if it's a reminder that his early days for both him and the players. Frank said, yeah, you can say that. Yeah, I think that it's probably fair. I think the first half was good. I was happy with that in many ways. I thought we were on top, created 2 or 3 very good chances and got into a lot of dangerous situations where we didn't create a chance where you should have created more. You were thinking, yes, this is good, produced a lot of crosses and we're on track. Football is not like Wolves, please roll over. It's the Premier League and it's extremely competitive. So you go into that second half and thinking, I know it's not like you to score. You think it's okay. It could be good. I think the big change second half, was probably their goal. It changed the momentum of the game, and then at half time changed to a 5-3-2. I think that made it more difficult. Not that we didn't know they could do it, but of course, how do you get the message across to the players? Of course, we got a little bit on about the pressure of getting it right, but the goal meant we probably lost a little bit of structure and coolness. It took more passes to get into the right positions, cross from the right area or produce from the right area instead of cross with your weaker foot or in a difficult position. A shot from 30 yards out, even though the crowd screams shoot. I like the effort mentality. I think it's huge, actually, and it means you get a point where you're not perfect, especially not as we were in that second half. Now that is 2 times in a row we come back. I think that tells you a lot about the players. Yes, we want free floating. Yes, we want more. We did not hit our highest performance level out there, but when you're down at 90 minutes plus and you get a point, I always think that's a positive. So there you go. There's a lot in there. I'm not going to give you too much analysis because there are a lot of headlines in there. So very, very quickly touch on a couple of things. Just pick out the key ones. So good win for under 21s and under 18s. Very good to see. Of course, we said before, the future is bright. An awful lot of quotes from Frank, but I'm just going to give my thoughts on the Wolves game in general. I think I'm happy that we got something rather than nothing. I agree with Frank about the mentality. I think overall it's still a bad result. I don't have a problem personally with Paulinho take his shot off to celebrate because he's always been like that at Fulham. It's not about the scoreline for him, it's about scoring. However, of course, you just need to get on with the game. We should have done more to go on and win at that point. It was really messy and I felt we should have done a lot better, and that was poor. So overall, still a poor result. It's still a better point for Wolves, even despite the situation. However, it could have been much worse, and I like that never kind of die attitude. I think Frank could have been clearer, and I think what he's trying to say is that Colomwani and Solanke, having them available would have been a big bonus, and that's the true. To have 3 strikers would have been fantastic. We only have 1 at the moment. I felt Richie looked lost at times. He didn't get that service, but at the same time, as a striker, you have to create your own service, and what I mean by that is you have to find a way of getting yourself involved in the game. Richarlison does typically struggle to do that. I think he really struggled in this game. But there are individuals that impressed me. Kudus, Bergvall, I thought were good. Simmons, I think, has got a lot to give. So, not too much to discuss. There's a lot, there could be, but I'm deciding not to. But anything you think is worthy of discussion, let me know in the comments below, but I'm wary of the time of this video. But thank you very much for watching. Hope you like the new kind of little setup behind me. Nothing new, but I've kind of moved me desk. Not quite as much Spurs stuff behind me, but simplified it and kept it kind of clean and, just fancy a little change. But thank you very much, and if you're new to the channel, as I said, like and subscribe. For now, though, thanks. You're up to date, and a massive comment, you Spurs. Enjoy the rest of your day.